You know, I was watching what was it called? Soul of a Nation on ABC. And I was sitting up there watching it, and I was like, you know, the one that just came on, what was it, like last week, and they was talking about Afrofuturism. And so it got me thinking, I'm it feels like no, a matter of fact, I'm not even gonna say that. Oh, well, let me go back. A lot of people, and a lot of people could testify to this. I started Black Dragon number 8 in August 1999. And because growing up, playing video games, what other games we play? Like Streets of Rage, Street Fighter, in in '93 there was the X-Men show, the animated series. And we used to watch that. We used to like that. And so, playing Final Fantasy and all that, playing fighting games. And so one day, it was in August of '99. So I was like, I wanted to see people that look like me do some X-Men shit. But since I was liking Japanese RPGs, it was like that was like different, and Japanese RPGs and animes, it was different. So I was like, there's nobody that looks like me, so let me create my own thing. And so in that, I made my own, Black Dragon number 8 was created. And some people, when you see black people, it'd be like the Black Spider-Man. Like, nobody knew about Miles Morales. I don't even think he came out when I made Black Dragon number 8, because one of the things I was saying, I was like, you never see any biracial superheroes. So I was like, well, that's why I created my wife, and this here is one of our kids. So I was like, oh, that would be cool. That's never been done before. Because the only comic book of anything that we knew of was X-Men, really in depth. Anything else, we just knew off of Street Fighter versus Capcom. I mean, Street Fighter versus X-Men, Capcom versus Marvel. It was Iron Man, and that was it. And the Hulk, outside of the game, we didn't know nothing about them, and Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So it was just all this stuff now. If some kid heard this, oh, you didn't know, because of the movies. The only movie that came out then was the X-Men movies, and I haven't seen those. You see what I'm saying? But the animated series, we knew, the Professor X, blah blah blah. And it was yeah, Bishop existed, but he wasn't doing I didn't expect them to make him that dude. So I was basically saying, I'm gonna make myself that dude, and put people that I know in my own shit. And basically that's what I did. And so, throughout this whole time, well, let me say this. At first, I was going off of the archetype of how other people model their characters. So one day in we had a comic book store in our town in Calumet City. It was called Amazing Fantasies. And I remember one day, you know, it was summer 2002. And so I'm sitting up there looking at all these comic books in the shelf. And I'm like, it was just something off about what I was seeing. It was just like, it was just seemed something odd. And so I was sitting up there thinking, I'm like, if you took off like these chicks like costumes and put them in regular clothes, you barely wouldn't know who they were, because they all have the same body type. They all look the same. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my chicks plus size. But at the time, I didn't know like the plus size word, BBW, all that. I just said I'm gonna just make them thicker. That's basically all I said. And I remember my friend was with me. And, you know, that's what I did. And so I've been doing this ever since like the 99, early 2000. And so now here come all these terms like plus size, BBWs, all this other stuff. And then now I'm hearing this term called Afrofuturism. And I'm like, I'm just kind of thinking like, damn, I've been doing all this stuff then before the terms really existed, before I knew the term. I just heard about the term Afrofuturism maybe like a year or two ago, and basically ever since Black Panther came out. And so I remember like back in the day, you know, a lot of kids, I remember this, a lot of kids on the bus was talking about this movie Belly. It's with like, I think DMX and Nas in it. And they was just like, oh, like this is tight and all this stuff. And I still to this day never seen the movie. And so, like while they're doing this, I'm sitting up here creating like worlds and like combining two different like games together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it was basically me doing it, and I used to like tell my friend about it, like my other friend. And you know, he was like, oh, that's cool and everything, because me and him went to the same school, but my other friend didn't. But you know, he was just listening to the ideas, and we was just say like silly stuff and just come up with anything. But like other kids in the school used to be like, oh, Belly is tighter, or just, you know what I'm saying? It was like the same things like people in my school liked. It was never nothing outside the box. Cause I remember a long time ago, I should do a video about like music. But I remember in high school, I remember this in high school. We was, what hallway was it? It was like one of the hallways that you go down, and then it was like not a dead end, but it was just a wall of lockers. And then it was off to the left. I think it was hallway B or something like that. And I remember I was near my locker, and I had like a CD player. And so I was listening. It was rather Disturbed. Yeah, it was Disturbed. And so some dude was like, what are you listening to? So I was like, Disturbed. And he might have recognized the group, or he just immediately thought it wasn't black or something. And so he was like, why you listen to that white boy music? And I was like, because this song is titled, I think it was Stupefied. And so I remember my friend Joshua, he was saying like, oh, did you hear the new Linkin Park song, Crawling? And so I was like, yeah, that song is tight. But it was like a lot of people didn't step outside the box. It was the same thing that was expected of people. Like you just listened to or did what you was basically supposed to listen to. But I was like, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Because I was listening to other stuff. Like I said, I should make a video about this. But anyway. And so I'm sitting up here creating all this other stuff without even knowing terms. Like even the planet that my like race, the Satashas, are based off of, was basically based off of, because I could say it now, I might as well, because I mean anybody who watches this, I mean they'll know and be like, anyway, the three things it was based off of was ancient Africa, ancient like Asian like cultures like Chinese, Japanese, Korean, you know, those like ancient, and ancient Greece. So it was based off of like those three things. So even with the whole ancient Africa, that's basically Afrofuturism. But like I said, back then when I created it, I didn't know the term. It was just like I just wanted to create, you know, like, because these three major ones with ancient Africa, ancient Asian, ancient Greek, they all had like, you know, gods and, you know, deities, mythology, like this real rich history of this stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna just fuse the three together. And that's basically what the planet Satasha and Quartz is basically based off of. But like I said, then I didn't know the term. It was just I just did it to be doing it. And so now, all this time later, I'm hearing about Afrofuturism. Now I'm pretty sure that the term Afrofuturism is fairly a new term, but it's older than a lot of people may think. But like I said, at the time, I didn't know about it until recently. I was just doing what I was doing. So all this time later is like, and I remember even back in when I was in Amazing Fantasies one day, I was like, you know, a lot of people don't have imagination to come up with certain stuff. You see what I'm saying? Cause some dude, he was talking about like imagination and all this other stuff, and he was just saying like you don't see too much new stuff. It's the same things over and over again. So like a lot of people don't have imagination, blah blah blah. And so up until like basically Black Panther came out with his movie, is when you start to see a lot of black people like starting to talk more about the Afrofuturism. But it's not like Black Panther, like he just, like when he came out with his movie, that's when the shit existed. Nah, I mean, the Black Panther's he's been out. You know, a lot of, I would say, I heard of Black Panther, I've seen his comic book in passing, but it wasn't like I was liking the comic books of just anybody. I just liked the cover art of it. That's what I was liking. Like I didn't care about, like I said, outside of Marvel vs. Capcom, like basically outside the fighting games, I didn't care about this stuff. And then I stopped liking X-Men once like I knew about anime. And that was like in 99. So it was like 98, 99-ish. I would say 99. So out like basically it was just like Iron Man, all this other stuff, the Hulk. I was like, I didn't care about him. I just like how it was drawn. Like whoever the artist was that was drawing the cover is what I was digging. That was it. You see what I'm saying? And then probably like some unknown comic books out, or like the only one I would say I was digging was Spawn, just because I like the whole like the dark aspect and how Todd McFarlane drew him. But that was it. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it was until, like I said, Black Panther's been out. But I'm glad black people are starting to, you know, think of a future outside of what like we're all expected to know. But like other than that, I mean, it took a long time basically took a long time for black people to reach the level I was on. And even society, like you seeing all these thick chicks popping up on Instagram and everything. And I'm like, I mean, there's evidence. Cause even if people want to start off like, well, we didn't see your stuff in '99, but it's like I said, I got evidence. People could verify that. Number one, two. Okay, even if you want to go off of when I came out with my first novel, like official date was like, when was that? 2012. Like nobody was posting, like these thick chicks wasn't posting this stuff up because people would have shamed them. You know, but now it's so acceptable. And now I'm looking at this movie Thunder Force. I'm like, I mean, because you could see Vila's picture on my Facebook. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's evidence of like this stuff out there. So it's not like I'm trying to ride a wave or nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like people could go on my Instagram, people could go on Twitter or Facebook, or like on my Brojito RDX page, you could see like when I came out with my novel. There's a video of it. You see what I mean? So I'm like, it's just like I was always doing stuff without knowing what the term was. Cause like I said, you keep seeing all these like these skinny superhero chicks and shit, and it's like, come on, bro. It's like nobody else can get a chance. And then I remember it was it had to have been in '09, between '09 and 2012. I remember I was over my cousin's house and we was watching like these martial arts movies like Flashpoint and like all this like movies like Donnie Yen, because I didn't know who Donnie Yen was, but it was like seeing his movies, I was like, oh shit, this dude, I like the fight scenes in that. This man be getting it in. But anyway, and so one movie he was in, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was this dude. He was a heavy set guy. His name was, I might be pronouncing his name wrong, but it was Sammo Hung. He was like this heavy set dude, and he was fighting Donnie Yen like in this like club or high end restaurant or something. And I'm like, dude, like here's a heavy set dude, but he's like moving like his weight didn't like hinder him at all whatsoever. So I'm like, damn. And then he was like in this, I think it was him, and he was like in this movie with Jackie Chan. So it's not like heavy set people couldn't get it in. You know what I mean? Like do some cool shit like that. So I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, because I remember my cousin saying, like, he was like, don't you have a plus size character in your comic book? So I was like, yeah. And I was seeing like dude fighting. I was like, wow. So I'm like, y'all motherfuckers are late. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, well, like I said, I'm just, it's cool to see people kind of like expanding their mind or something like that, you know what I mean? But it's like at the same time, man, y'all took forever. Like the only people that I know that knew something outside of like whatever was like the people I grew up with. But even still, like then nobody was really into comic books like that. And nobody was like only me, Joshua, Sean, Marcus, Joshua's brother, was, and like Roosevelt was into like video games and comic books. Cause I remember, I remember, I probably said this on the video, but I remember like Joshua's older brother Raymond, like he was like way older, especially at the time. He might have been like a senior. No, he must have been like he must have been like at 21 or 20. He was in his early 20s at the time. And he had a friend, they called him Creamy. And I remember we was playing like Final Fantasy 7 in the basement. And I remember I was at the Golden Sauce and I was like, oh, don't you think this is cool? And Creamy was like, yeah, right. You see what I'm saying? Like nobody cared about that. Like older people didn't care about shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It was just the same basic shit all the time. Now, in modern time, now you got all these superhero movies. Now people may have like a different like view on the shit, but that's not how like the experience of the shit, like growing up, it wasn't like that. Like I said, and it wasn't like we played like, oh man, did you see the new X-Men vs Street Fighter? Like, you know, nobody was doing that. It was just like if you had it and you know, we played after school over somebody's house, it was mostly just the like bragging rights or something, you know what I mean? It would basically, what I'm saying is it wouldn't have mattered who the characters were. It was just a fighting game, and just to say you beat somebody, that was it. It was, nobody cared about who the characters were, except for like Joshua, because he liked Spider-Man. You know, that like I said, that was it. I mean, it's crazy, like looking back at it and how these comic book movies have exploded over the last like what, basically 20 years. It's just like, yeah, that's how people basically viewed the shit. Nobody was like caring about that stuff like that. But now, like I said, you got kids, and then when you see like different people's like, you know, comic books and everything, it has like this X-Men type feel to it. Like when you see like people coming up with their own comic books and everything, like you could see the influence of X-Men in their like projects. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, you could see the influence of it. You know what I'm saying? Especially now, because like after Black Panther, it's like, you know, now it exploded. And then even, I remember having this debate with this dude, and he was talking shit about not X-Men, Marvel. Because he was saying how, you know, like Black Panther isn't 100% black. Because, I mean, you got Bob Iger. He's the head of Walt Disney. And Disney was racist. And just all the stuff. But I'm at the same time, I was like saying, but still, black kids are not going to care that hard about who Bob Iger is and Walt Disney. They just see, and then it was like Marvel and Stan Lee, they weren't black. But the fact is, you're going to have kids seeing Black Panther. You're going to see mostly damn near all black cast. That's all people going to care about. They're going to be the lead character is black. Mostly everybody's black. That's all anybody, like especially kids, that's all they're going to care about. They're not going to be investigating who owns what. Then even if they did go that far, they would have saw like Ryan Coogler. The director was black. Then if you see like who wrote it, I think Ryan Coogler and maybe a couple other people that were black had their hands in it. So like damn near the investigation was stopped there. Then the person who designed the clothes was black. So it was like, again, nobody was going to care about the internal workings of how something was made or who was behind it hardly. They're just gonna go off of what they see on screen. It's just, matter of fact, here's a perfect example. Now you see a lot of people talking about video games, and you see the video like on like YouTube. You see a lot of people making making videos about talking about video games. Like I'm starting to watch this dude who just makes videos about MMOs. Or you will see somebody playing a video game and they'll have like 1,000 like hits and subscribers and everything. I'm making a video game and I get like 2 people watching my shit. Because nobody cares about how the shit is made. They just care about what they're going to be seeing. And that's just it. And so the dude was talking about like Black Panther, like just bashing the shit. But then he somewhat backpedaled. But at the same time, he was still on his like almost jihad, trying to tear the shit down basically. But I'm like, but it's cool like that you see black people like actually thinking something outside of what is expected of black people to know. And you sitting up there trying to basically tear the shit down. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, dude. Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Because it's just not because Bob Iger's the head of Disney. Like, I mean, you would want black people to own their own products or be out there like that. But especially at this time now, beggars can't be choosers. And you sitting up here like basically tearing the shit down. Like, I saw for what it was. Like, kids are going to see this shit. They're going to be like, I want to be T'Challa and Black Panther. That's it. And it's going to inspire them to make their own stuff. And then, you know, with all the stuff about black ownership and everything, then maybe there would be a black Bob Iger or black Walt Disney. But as of right now, it's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you gotta get what you get. Like, even though it's unfortunate, this is kind of fucked up to say it, but like, you tearing down the shit, dude. You see what I'm saying? I mean, hell, because even one of these dudes, he made a video about this. I'm not gonna go into the particulars, but I had to leave a comment saying all the stuff he was saying in the video was cool, but the problem is playing catch up now. Like, we should have been on this shit in the 90s at least. Like, in the 90s, when I was growing up, you had like Family Matters, and you had Steve Urkel. He was a nerd, but he was like, you know, had inventions. They blew up for comic relief or something went wrong, but he was still a nerd, and he was still a scientist though. If you was anything like that, you would have got heated up on or beat up. But if you was like liking rap music, playing basketball, or like football or something, then you was basically immune from criticism. But if you stepped outside that box, oh, you would have got heated up on. And that's just how it was. Like, nobody, like how anybody that I grew up with in Calumet City, nobody you couldn't dispute the shit. Like, think back to Urkel. Anybody who would have been on some shit like that, not the high water pans, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they was on some like, I'm trying to be like a scientist or something, or something like that. You wasn't part of the cool crowd. You was basically a lame. I mean, even the girls used to call us lame, and we weren't. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, just because we wasn't into the bellies and all that, like, and it's not like we didn't listen to rap music. I mean, and everybody knew my favorite rapper was Busta Rhymes. Come on, bro. But it was just like, I wasn't hard enough. I'm like, that's bullshit, bro. But you know, we should have been on how we're feeling now in the 90s. We let too much time pass because it wasn't cool until recently. Like, because I remember this dude. His name was Charles Perham. And he had like Power Rangers in his locker. In his locker. And not too many people knew, but when you know what I'm saying, when people heard about it, they got on him. They heated up on the dude. You see what I'm saying? Like, that shit just wasn't cool back then. Cause you just basically had to like follow the same stereotypes. But like I said, now it's just a whole different story. Cause like now, like, because of these superhero movies and a lot of people are into them, now it's like, you know, people are not ashamed anymore to be like, yeah, I like whatever. Like the new Iron Man, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see it too. You see what I'm saying? Cause back then there was no Iron Man movie. Only diehard comic book fans knew about Iron Man. But like I said, outside of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, who was Iron Man? Nobody cared. You see what I'm saying? Like, nobody was reading Iron Man books. Like, not that I knew of. Especially in school. Nobody that I knew was reading this shit. It just went, like I said, it just went as far as that game. And you picked Cyclops, Iron Man, and Cable. Just for that beam combo. And it was like 120 something hits. That was it. Outside, nope. But like I said, now it's a different story. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I was sitting up there doing all this shit back then. Because I was just like, I just didn't care anyway. Because see, my whole thing about stepping outside the box started off with music. But like I said, I should do a video about that later. But now it's about this Afrofuturism thing. But yeah, like, if I'm just like, you know, and especially being like Oh, if I wish I could go back in time, somebody should seriously make a motherfucking time machine. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self the deal. Oh, I wish I could go back and tell myself what's up. And just be like, oh, I wish I could have gone back. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I wish I would have gone back. Because I would have told myself some real shit. And it would have changed my life a lot sooner. Or I would have been on this way sooner. You see what I'm saying? Or just like people seeing the future and shit. You know, what not to do. But I would have told myself some real shit though. I mean, everybody would have told themselves some real shit if they could go back in time. Wait a minute. Yeah. Because I remember a while back. When was this? In 09. I remember I asked my cousin one time. I was like, and my cousin was like, shh, I don't even know how. He was like real young. And I was like, what's your favorite game? He was like, San Andreas. And I was like, why? He was like, oh, because the lead character is black. You see what I'm saying? That's why that whole representation shit matters. See, I'm gonna be on some real shit. See, white people don't believe that the shit matters because they had everything. You see what I'm saying? Like Professor X and Cyclops, Wolverine. You had all these like people in comic books and whatnot was white. So when black people start talking about representation, it's just like, it just seemed like white people start rolling their eyes. So like, motherfucker, stop rolling your eyes. I mean, because you had all the shit handed to you. You had the Luke Skywalkers. You see what I'm saying? Like, you had like all these other like dudes on screen. There was nobody black that like we have to take existing characters and make like the black Mario, the black this. Like I remember making different color Sonics before Sonic did the shit. Like there was a black Sonic. But now all these years later here comes Shadow. So you see what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, don't fucking roll your eyes at the shit, man, because we didn't have like the only thing that we could really look to was like Streets of Rage with Skate and Paul. I think that was his brother's name, Paul. Like that's who that was basically it. And then we just played NBA Jam and NBA Jam TE. That was it. Because again, I mean, it was like a basketball court at Downey Park, and it was easy to pick up a ball. Like nobody was trying to skate. Like I mean, like well, my friend was rollerblading, but nobody was thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna be a hockey player. You see what I'm saying? Now you got black hockey players. But that wasn't like a thing that people was doing. But see, now again, you got the representation. Now people are like, oh, let me do this. Let me play golf because of Tiger Woods. You know what I'm saying? Like because people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know they can get in it if they don't see other people that look like them getting it in. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, who was that? Jeremy, I think his name is Jeremy Lin or Justin, the Asian basketball player. Like, before him was Yao Ming. I think his name is Jeremy Lin, but yeah, you got Yao Ming now, like then, and he was Chinese and shit. So everybody was like, yo, he was getting it in. And now, like, other Chinese people could see, like, themselves, or Asian people could see themselves and be like, I'm gonna be in the NBA. I'm gonna be that dude. Cause now they see somebody that looks like them in something they never thought they can get involved in. You see what I'm saying? So it's like let people, first of all, let people live. Number one. And you just welcome motherfuckers into the shit. You know what I'm saying? Just cause I mean they could spice up the shit for you. You know what I mean? Cause I mean it's just been one way all this time. And now somebody else, like, of a different gender or like ethnic background gets in, they might be doing some shit that they're like, damn, I didn't know we can do that. Cause they, like, you let the new dude in and he start pulling off some shit, they be like, whoa. Cause the person comes from a different background and you've been doing it this way all this time. Now you can see a different way of doing shit. Like, it's just like, I think his name is Nujabi, and he did the lo-fi like music, and he was doing like the stuff with for Samurai Champloo. Like, nobody knew what lo-fi was, and he was like mixing like hip hop and jazz and slowing the shit down. Now you start seeing like lo-fi channels everywhere. You see what I mean? And like even back, I remember in adult, like back in like 03, 04, and like Adult Swim used to, like, when they, before they went to commercial break and when they came back from it, they used to play this lo-fi music. And I was always like, oh man, what is this song? Back then there was no like sound hound or something to get like music, like what was the name of the song. So it was just like, they played the song, you just missed out. Now after all this time, it was called lo-fi, and it was like I think Nujabi, I think he's Japanese, and it's like I said, you got mad dudes making YouTube channels about it. Cause it sounds so cool. You know, you gotta give a man his respect. I think he passed away, but I mean, but his like legacy is living on for like forever. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's just how it is. Just let people get in. You know, cause he was like, he liked hip hop. You see what I mean? Just, you know, that goes for everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the collection and I'm bouncing. Let's see. But like I said, this whole Afrofuturism. Like I said, I was doing that before I even knew the term. But yeah, like I said, I should seriously do one about music. I should seriously do a video about music though. Cause oh wait a minute, I gotta fix the back. I didn't even think about that. Wait a minute. Cause I mean the music thing. Cause you even see like dudes, like I don't know, they be reacting to like different like songs and everything, and I'm kind of like I don't want to be watching those videos because there'll be a song that I like, and it seems like they usually like the song though. But I just like, I mean, then it's just like looking at them like they'll be like you see somebody like it'd rather be a young person or like a black person like reacted to like the Rolling Stones Painted Black. And it's just kind of like, first of all, like, y'all extremely late. Two, I don't know, I just don't want to hear their commentaries on that song, man. Because that song is like the song. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of like the classic songs. Like, y'all be trying to, y'all be saying your own little shit about the classic shit. It's just like, bruh. I don't know, man. But I should seriously get into that shit. Like the music. I mean, the music journey was like, well, like I said, that's the gateway though. That was my gateway. Like, cause you see, cause as a matter of fact, you see a lot of black people getting into like different like cultures because of anime. Like you hear like any like black person story that's in Japan or just on some like a different style, and you could automatically tell like he or she watching anime. Like it was this Vice had this documentary about black cosplayers, and it's like pretty much all have the same story. You know what I mean? But see, like I said, mine of getting involved in certain stuff didn't start from anime. Like even knowing about like Japan. Like I could say this because I'm here with this. This is not gonna be about music, but how I knew about Japan as a kid, it was because of Sonic. Because at the end of the credits, it was a whole bunch of names I didn't recognize. I knew they weren't American. And so I remember my mom used to do the best she can by reading the Japanese like credits, the names. And I knew about, well, even a little bit prior to that, I knew about Russia because of Tetris. And this was like pre-Sonic. Because it was like the building, I used to say, oh, it looked like ice cream cones. It looked like ice cream, but it was like St. Barthol's Cathedral. But that was in Russia. And had the Russian men, dancing. So I knew about that. Then playing Sonic, and my mom was like reading off the names. And it was like, she was like they're Japanese. Because my mom is real good of seeing the name and knowing what country they're from. And so that's how I knew about Japan. And then in '99, how I knew about Korea Cause I remember I was used to watch this channel called the International Channel, and it was the summer. It was August 1999, and I remember my friend Sean came over and we was about to go somewhere, but I had the iChannel left. It was on, and so I was familiar with the Chinese characters and how like the writings in Japanese and Chinese. But I went downstairs and it was this game show. I can't remember the name of the game show, but I saw it was like these Asian people on it, and I was like, but the characters, like the words had these circles on, like in the characters, and I was like, what is this? Because it didn't look like Japanese or Chinese or Japanese, so I was like, who, what? And so I was kind of perplexed by that. Like it wasn't even Japanese. And so it came on again, and it was the same characters. I was like, yo, who are they? And then again, my mom, she was like, she helped me find out. I forgot how she found out. Or we found out together. But we found out they were Korean. And then we found out like it was South Korea. And then we didn't know the particulars of North and South Korea at the time. But then again, we start seeing a lot of K-pop then. But like I said, that's going to get into the music, and I don't want to be saying stuff yet. I'm gonna save that for the other conversation. But yeah, that's how I found out where Korea was. And this was in 99. And then, me and my friend left, and, we did some, we was riding our bikes somewhere. You know what I mean? But see, like I said, now these younger people, like these younger black people, their entry to this shit is mostly anime. Mine was video games, like back then. But even like, like Mario and everything, like Mario 1, 2, and 3. It's just, we was on some, like I said, we was on some different shit. But if I had to, like I said, this music thing, I'm gonna have to make a whole separate video on that. But it's just like if if I was gonna preview this, it would just been like, we was in the, like, especially me and my mom, we were like into like all types of music. I'ma just say that. But right now, I'm gonna be done with this. And yeah, I'm gonna save this and get back later. Yeah, I'm done. For now, money over stank hoes up in this bitch.